Hello everyone. Hi. In today's video, we'll be talking about Space Marines and my overall thoughts on the old vehicles and the new vehicles. Now, my reasons for thinking on both the old and new vehicles. The original title of this video was different. It was more along the lines of why I thought older vehicles are better than newer vehicles. And to a degree, I do still have that basis for my thoughts. First of all, I think that the older vehicles, this is the Rhino, the Land Raider, and all the other Rhino chassis vehicles, I think they overall fit the aesthetic of the Imperium of Man overall a lot better than the Impulsor and Impulsor chassis vehicles, and that's pretty much it. Because all the Primaris vehicles are pretty much just Impulsor chassis variants. Now, point two has been sort of changed since writing this script, and it's more of a thought that has occurred since not recording. But the old vehicles do, for the most part, have very clear use cases and intent for what the particular vehicle is meant for. So an example being, the Rhino is a transport. It is meant to transport your infantry battle line units, and it can't transport Terminators or anything bigger like Centurions or any jump pack Marines. Whereas the Land Raider is a heavy transport, its weapon profiles, highlight that as such, its ability highlights that as such, it is overall larger, and it is overall tougher. I apologize if I'm messing with my hair a lot. It's just, there's a little bit of a breeze coming in, so bear with me of that. And to the point of like the Primaris vehicles, and one of my gripes with the newer, in quotes, vehicles, the current vehicles, are that the Impulsor and Repulsor both want to do what the Land Raider and the Rhino already do. But granted, they do it in different ways, right? Like the Impulsor has an ability very similar to that of the Land Raider's Assault Ramp ability, but it doesn't have Assault Ramp. And the Repulsor can transport more units or more models, my mistake, than the Land Raider, and it has a lot more guns. But to me, the biggest difference between the Impulsor and Repulsor to like the Land Raider and Rhino is the arbitrary tacticus restrictions. And I do truly mean and believe that it is a completely arbitrary restriction. I know that in lore, there's some justifications for why rhinos can't transport Primaris. It's because Primaris are slightly bigger than, Firstborn Marines and all that. And then in some cases, it's more of most cases, there are also minor profile differences between their stats, like like rhinos having one less wound than impulsors and repulsors, on top of weapon profile, like how many weapons and what options do said vehicles have. Another big thing for me that makes me not really care for the newer vehicles, as someone who has played Space Marines and also plays Chaos Space Marines, are that the new vehicles, or newer, more modern, current vehicles, use bases for determining the distance between, like, hey, am I within range of firing X gun into Y target, right? Whereas with old vehicles like the Rhino and the Land Raider and the Whirlwind, you use the hull to determine distance, which in my opinion is a lot more convenient and straightforward. And sure, you could say that, oh, well, the newer vehicles, even though they have bases, you still have to use the hull and the base to determine distance and what have you. And it, to me at least, it adds an extra layer of just complication, right? Like, why not just have the Repulsor and Impulsor and Gladiator vehicles just be treaded vehicles, or they don't have bases and they only use the hull, just to keep things consistent. I know there are other factions that have this same thing where they have X vehicle that uses their hull for movement and for shooting, but then they have Y vehicle that has a base because it's a flying vehicle, right? Now, there are some acknowledgments with this video, and as a thought, right? And this is something I wrote after initially making this slide presentation script. But land raiders are very large. I said this before in my first Warhammer video talking about land raiders and my thoughts on them and why I like them so much. But land raiders are very big. They are very large. It makes them, at least from my experience playing on Tabletop Simulator, it makes them very annoying to navigate on the battlefield. And I know just from using a Gladiator Lancer that repulsors are smaller than land raiders. Maybe not by much, but they're still smaller. So there's less weirdness with having to maneuver on top of repulsors can have a lot of guns, like a lot of guns, regardless if we're talking about the base repulsor or the executioner. Second acknowledgement is that gladiators, like the Gladiator Lancer, Valiant, and whatever the third version is, I don't know, but I know the Lancer, particularly, but just like gladiators as a whole are better tanks than predators. Now that sounds weird, especially since I have double checked and cross referenced the data sheets, and really when it comes down to it, it's like the gladiator has one more wound than the predator, either the destructor or annihilator variants of the predator. But other than that for the general stat profile, they're the same. Same toughness, same movement, same OC, same leadership. The gladiators have one more wound than predators. But then when we move into weapon profiles, it's like, okay, well, if you compare anti-tank to anti-tank, right? Or, tank versus tank profiles. The Predator Annihilator versus the Gladiator Lancer is just objectively like a better version of the Predator because it has a longer range weapon, anti-tank weapon, that hits about as hard, if not harder. Its ability is generally better because you can reroll the hit roll if it isn't, if you're not targeting the at the moment target, and you can reroll the wound roll, and I believe also reroll the damage roll. One damage roll, and whatnot. And arguably I'd say that that's better than the Predators or the Annihilators ability where you can only, I think, reroll the damage roll. It's like, okay, well, it's cool, but like my one or two las cannon shots didn't hit, so that goes out the window. Going over, to the impulsors and talking about just the transport, the basic infantry transports, the impulsors are also a better infantry transport than the Rhino, and that is namely same thing with comparing the gladiators to the predators. Impulsors just have better stats, better profiles. They have one more toughness, or not one more toughness, one more wound, more weapon profile options. They have a better ability that allows them to, advance and vomit out their guys. Yeah, those guys can't make a charge because it's not the assault ramp keyword, but it's something very similar. That's overall pretty better. Yeah, the Rhino has the possibility to survive a good turn of shooting and slowly get its wounds back. But assuming it doesn't get blown up on turn 1, let's say it gets shot turn 1, and then it survives up until turn 5, it's only regaining 4 wounds. And if it got brought from, I think it's 10 wounds down to 1, it's only going up to half of its wounds. It's still going to be damaged, I believe. So there's that. And then with regards to Whirlwinds and Vindicators, they don't have Primaris equivalents. And I truly think that Games Workshop are not going to make Primaris equivalents, or if they are or do something like that, they're just going to add extra weapon profiles potentially to gladiators or repulsors, or just make new variants of the gladiator and repulsor that just fill the same role, right, as the Vindicator and Whirlwind. Next is going to be some Chaos Space Marine Copium. we're gonna be coping as a Chaos Space Marine player here. I do think GW should give Chaos Land Raiders more variants and basically just their own Crusader and Redeemer variants. Honestly, doesn't make sense as to why Chaos Space Marines don't have those. They definitely should. I do think that Chaos Space Marines should have access to Heresy era vehicles. Not all, but I do think some. I do think that CSM, even Space Marines, like I'll even throw normal Space Marines a bone here. I think that both Space Marine factions, Chaos and normal Marines, should have access in standard rules, official rules, not legends, not just private game stuff. They should have access to some Heresy era vehicles. And same thing goes with like other factions, like the AdMech. Adeptus Mechanicus definitely could use having some Heresy era vehicles. And then on top of that, and this is just kind of like the last point, and I doubt GW do this because they've very much been trying to stay away from Chaos Space Marines or just Space Marines, but with spikes on them. And this also harks back to a point I made in my Dreadnought video, my last Warhammer video, which is give CSM Chaos Corrupted Primaris vehicles. Like, you can't tell me that CSM or any of the Chaos Cult armies can't take a damn near destroyed Gladiator or Impulsor or whatever and Chaos Corrupted. I mean, if they do that already with their Rhinos and Land Raiders, why can't or couldn't they do it with Impulsors and Repulsors and Gladiators? Right? It just, that's my thought, and that's a little bit of my copium. All right, but with that, everyone, that'll be the end of the video. I very much appreciate anyone and everyone who sticks around and watches to the end. Feel free to comment down below what your thoughts are on Space Marine vehicles. Loyalist Marines, Chaos Space Marines. Do you like the older or newer vehicles? The second bullet point, I forgot that. Brain went quicker than hands with that. But do you like the older new vehicles, or do you prefer the newer, more modern vehicles? If you do use any vehicles in your army, it doesn't matter what the points game size is. Which ones do you do? Which ones do you use, if any? And as always, let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more content like this in the future. And to that end, liking and subscribing does help with letting me know, hey, people are, people are interested in this. You guys are interested in this. It very much goes a long way to help me out with content, with making sure, hey, this is something people are interested in. Keep at it. But with that, guys, that'll be the end. That'll be the end of my funny dumb face. Hope you guys have a great one wherever you may find yourselves, whether that be on the tabletop of a 40k game, Dungeons and Dragons campaign, or just gaming or browsing YouTube. Hope you have a great time, whatever you may find yourself doing and wherever you may find yourself being. But until the next time, have a good one, stay chill, and be safe out there. Peace.